Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. I want to welcome my guest Tyson, and you are a biochar expert. Tell me a little about yourself and your company and the journey that got you to where you are. You guys have some great product, and we buy your product, and it's used in our blends, and we even sell a composted version of this straight online to consumers as well. So tell me a little about yourself and how you got here.
Great. Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here on the podcast. And my name's Tyson with Southwest Biochar Products. We brand as SW Biochar. My dad started a wood products manufacturing business when I was in high school. And then I went off to college. I studied agricultural business. I was really excited, really interested in agriculture in general. And then I went and worked for a few years in the Midwest for a large agricultural business. And then got married and moved back home. I always knew I wanted to move back home. I always wanted to be part of the family business, whatever that looked like at the time. It's evolved over time, and when I came back, it had already changed quite a bit. We manufacture wood utility poles and bundled firewood, but from that we get a lot of waste. When I was graduating college, my dad called me up and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of biochar?" And I hadn't. It wasn't something at the time that I'd learned in any of my classes. And he said, "Look into it, see what we can find out." I spent a total of maybe 10 minutes looking into it because I really didn't care because I was graduating and I had a job. So I went off to job, and then a few years later I moved back home, and that's when we really started looking into ways to utilize our wood waste. And we looked at biochar for a long time, wanted to make sure it was something that wasn't just a fad, wasn't doing just come and go. And we learned a lot about it and decided that this was a really, really good way to utilize our wood waste so that we're not just burning it, or we can create another revenue stream from the wood waste. What
were you doing with the waste before? Just composting it, landfilling it?
Yeah, it would go to either like a pellet plant for wood pellets. It also sent a lot to a biomass plant that burned it to generate electricity. But it got to, initially, we could sell it for a little bit. And eventually, though, it got to the point where we were just giving it away to get rid of it. There was no value to it.
So what kind of quantities of material because you're up in more or less the Arizona forest, right? Up in the Mungian Rim area, Pine Top, or where you guys do most of your work?
Yeah, so we are in northeastern Arizona. It's called Eager, Springerville. It's the far eastern part of the state. We're located surrounded by the Apache Sick-Reeves National Forest. And so all of our product comes off of forest thinning projects. And we talk here about sustainability, about climate, and biochar, as we talk today, is going to tie in so much to those things. But we see a big change in the climate where we're at.
Right.
Our forests are dry and
getting the beetle bug, because that's the nature's way of cleaning out.
Yeah, and every year our forests go into fire restrictions, but normally that happens May or June. This year, by the end of this week, I think we're probably going to start seeing some fire restrictions, meaning that they start limiting what you can do in the forest accessing material, and it's to protect from forest fires. So we're 2 to 3 months ahead on restrictions and what's normal, and so we're seeing a change in our.
It's happening all over the world, but especially here in the Southwest, we have seen huge forest fires. And so a big part of it is, to try to manage by thinning them and that sort of thing. But as they're doing that there's no way, that's more product than you guys can even use, right? So what happens to the rest of it? I mean, it gets lumber mills and that kind of thing, but if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the lumber mills up in that part of the country also have shut down. I don't know if I remember back buying from lumber mills out, I don't know if it was Springerville or if it was Pine Top area, but big lumber mills are no longer really even in business there.
Yeah, there for a while, a lot of industry did shut down. We went through a time where people didn't think that thinning the forest was a good idea, but for us, it's a great tool for protecting the forest. Otherwise, like I said, there's catastrophic wildfires, and they just burn so much that they do more harm than good.
Right.
And so we're seeing a trend shift to where there is industry coming back into our forests, but those industries want good sized timber to work with. There's still a lot of waste,
Right.
limbs,
Even after that,
tops
sure.
of trees that are no one can use, and that's where we need waste utilization outlets. Right. And so something like biochar is fantastic for that.
So you guys had a large capital outlay because it's not a cheap piece of equipment. But from what I understand, you have one of the better technologies out there when I researched and looked around. And how long ago you started, I think, with a smaller system and then went to the larger system. How long have you now been producing it? And describe to people exactly what biochar is and how you make it. What's the pyrolysis? I think that's the term, the scientific term for it, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that a little.
Right. So biochar is made from cooking. I don't want to use the word burn because in the process, the pyrolysis process, we're removing oxygen from the equation. Mm-hmm. So we're cooking at really high temperatures, 12 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, without oxygen. And so in the process, we're chemically changing the structure of the wood.
Right.
And so what is left is a carbon product. And so, I have a little sample, and it's simple. And I don't want to get dirty. What it's like.
Okay. I'm used to getting dirty.
It's you crush it and
right,
and you'll get black. But biochar, in the simplest form, it's carbon. We talked a lot about organic carbon in soils. We need organic carbon in our soils, and we've depleted that a lot with conventional farming.
Right.
Biochar is a soil amendment. There's a lot of products that are soil amendments, but to me there are two things that really set biochar apart more than any other soil amendment. First is longevity. Biochar is
forever for that.
It does. It takes several hundred to several thousand years for it to completely decompose. Mm-hmm. And so it's a permanent carbon for soils. And then the second major benefit is the versatility of it. I haven't found a product that is as versatile as biochar in the number of things that it can do, right? So the list is extensive, and we're not going to be able to talk about everything that that it can do, but highlights are, one is water saving capabilities, right?
Is it about 10 times its weight in water, or 5 times, 10 times?
Yeah, like 10 times its weight in water, and it's porous, and so it absorbs moisture.
Right.
And then it gives it back to the plant as it as the plant needs it. And it does that same thing for nutrients, right? You put fertilizers or whatever, maybe compost that's got nutrients in it, and that biochar absorbs those nutrients. And then again, it gives it back to the plant as it needs it.
So as a farmer, that's the tricky part. If you use raw biochar, it can, right during your planting or during the growing phase, it can actually take nutrient out of the soil, take it away from the plants for a little while. So it has to be what we call inoculated. So by composting it first or putting it in the ground, giving it enough time to inoculate, it becomes a super usable product. And then you're right, at that point it does, give nutrient base away and that kind of thing. But it's also great for biology, right?
It is, and that's another main point, is that it's a permanent home for microorganisms. Because of its longevity and its structure, it creates a permanent home for microorganisms to thrive and to live.
So we're looking at this, and I don't know if you can even see it on the camera, but that is small, but it gets a lot smaller. And what we're talking about is microorganisms, bacteria, actinomites, algae if it's floating in water, fungi, so small that we couldn't see it with the naked eye. A handful of it would be 1 billion microbes, right?
Yeah.
But the microbes are the workers in the soil. They're the things that move water, move nutrient, and they're constantly eating and decomposing things, and then they're being eaten by one family after another, right? So this is what's considered the perfect housing, the perfect condominium for that microbiology. So it's hard to explain that. It's not something you really can get in a synthetic form. It's really something that has to be in a natural. Well, this isn't natural per se because it's been burned, but it is an organic form.
It is organic, and it is, in a way natural. You look at, a forest fire, and you go back and find things like ash. This is a more pure form of what you would find after a forest fire.
Right. And we're using, we've named our biochar, which is your biochar that we've treated as, we named it Amazonian dark earth.
Yeah.
Because there was a civilization, centuries and centuries, I don't know how long far back it was, that purportedly was a very large civilization, and it was able to feed the people based on the fact that the soil was had a lot of biochar in it. And I think it was the same technique they're using in Africa right now. They'll take wood and they pile it up or put it in a hole, and then they put banana leaves on it, and then they put dirt on it, and they create a chimney at one end and a lighting, an area to light from the other, and they'll cook that for roughly 10 days without oxygen because of the way they do it. What they then do is reburn it. So one of the things we want to do with our nonprofit is to be able to take a reactor, at some point have a reactor like yours in Africa, and take hemp, which can be grown in biomass. It's very economic, and it's low water using, and it's great for the soil. And then to break that down, run it through a mulcher and or a tub grinder perhaps, and then burn it into a biochar. And then the end product can be used in clean cook stoves because they have a real energy problem in Africa. They don't have the fossil fuels there. They don't have the investment capital for any solar and things like that. So the ability to have people cook their meals and run furnaces to make clay to brick to make buildings is a big part of what we see. So you're right, a biochar is an amazing product. And from what I understand, they're also looking at creating graphene out of it. So when you're making this, you've got you got X number of tons. We'll use that as a measurement, right? But when it comes out, it's not very heavy. Yeah. It's like super lightweight, right? What is the conversion process for you? You keep track of, you have 10 truckloads of material go in, and a day later it does 1 truckload, or what? How does it convert?
So 1 ton of feedstock, we're gonna get about 27-28% yield biochar from that. So 2,000 pounds are gonna give us about 500 pounds of biochar. And so you lose quite a bit in the burn off process, but it's a pure carbon product pretty much that's left.
And so in Africa they call it charcoal.
Yeah.
Right. And my partner and I had a little argument, and I said, well, this is the perfect charcoal. This is because, and that's what they're using in Africa, because instead of taking an hour or two to burn down wood you chopped out of the forest and having it burned down so you can cook your meal, it's readily available. And because it's more compact, you don't use as much of it, but it's a cleaner burning fuel. And what he couldn't understand was, well, it was already cooked. But the reality is the energy is still in the biochar after you cook it. You haven't really dispersed that energy.
Yeah, there is still a lot of energy into it, and if we don't cool it down in the process, we've seen what happens. We have a lot of heat that can still be generated from it.
So you guys have had you've had the first version, the first equipment. Now you're into the second piece, but what have you learned in the process? And from what I also understand is different feedstocks have different properties when they're done, right? So some could be better for graphene, or some could be better as a fertilizer, or for cookstoves, for instance. Have you played around? I know you're getting mass quantities of trees from the forest up there, so that's primarily what you're using. But have you toyed around with other things? Have you done analysis on the end product when you're done?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mike. And short answer is no. But like I said, we started with a small reactor just to test out, see how this works. How does our feedstock process? Is this a viable thing? And then this last year, at the end of last year, we scaled up to a much larger, about five times the scale of our equipment. And so we are the first and only large-scale producer of biochar in the Southwest. And there's a lot of risk with being the first.
Sure.
And so, we're sticking for now with our ponderosa pine wood shaving feedstock. It's what we have, and so it's what we're using. So we haven't done a lot of tests with other feedstocks. The nice thing about biochar is it has been studied so much across the world, right? And so there are tons and tons of studies out there.
Sure.
You just have to do a quick Google search and find pretty much anything you're looking for on just about any kind of feedstock.
What is a minimum run for you? What do you have because you got your reactor, right? Well, how many tons of feedstock do you have to put in? And how long does it take? Is it a 24-hour cycle, a 12-hour cycle?
Yeah, so there's different types of biochar producing equipment. Ours is a continuous feed. So we're continuously putting material in and continuously pulling it out. And so we, with our new machine, should be producing about 200 yards of biochar a week. And so with that, we're, 7 or 8 semi-loads of material going in to get that amount out. And so, we've got a sweet system. Anyone that wants to come out and check it out, love to have you come
I haven't been up there.
Check it out.
I've checked out the product, and I analyzed it compared to the competitors, and it is a superior product.
Yeah.
You know,
And so
you and I talked about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very pleased with it. But I do want to bring up some of our hemp that we're growing,
Yeah.
and have you run it through and do an analysis of that and see what, because each product is like, for you right now, if you can get the machine to pay for itself with the pine, and it's an end use for your waste product anyway, so it's all about sustainability. But if you can, and I'm sure you're starting to learn your profit margins and that kind of thing, but if you can do it with that, and then as you are putting different feedstocks through, I think what we'll find is that each feedstock is going to have a specific purpose. And I personally believe that hemp will be probably the highest value, or among the highest values
Yeah.
of the feedstock, because each thing you put in is different, right? I mean, if you put in an oak or a cherry or a hardwood, it's going to have a different end product. Last question for you. I know in this cooking process, you're generating a tremendous amount of heat. Have you done anything to convert any of that to energy? Are you running like the power off of your operation with what you're doing?
Yes, so we do utilize some of our excess heat. We have a wood kiln that we use for drying and heat treating our utility poles. And so we pull heat off of our biochar machine to heat that wood kiln. And just back up a little bit, a biochar machine, we use propane initially for heat up. Once the machine is up to temperature, the gases created from cooking the wood keeps the temperatures, and so there's no external heat source. And so we're able to utilize that excess heat to heat our wood kiln that would otherwise be heated with something like propane or natural gas. Okay. The other thing that we will look into in the future is electric generation. Right. They make an ORC system that can be tied in with our machine, and we can pull excess heat to generate electricity for our own operation, and we can put it back on the grid.
To the grid, right? Yeah. So right now you're using a thermal transfer, which is perfect for your business model. But the ability
Mike, if I can just add one thing, and more like a marketing point is, biochar's uses are very wide, whether it's from home gardening standpoint to a nursery in their plants, to compost like what you guys are doing, or just to the farmer. And so the uses are really for anyone doing anything with food.
And we had to do kind of the conversion to make it work for us. I consider it about 5% of our product, because then it activates in our product, and it's specifically great for water saving, for biology. It's great for drainage. It doesn't break down. It's like an amazing carbon source. But we also, doing the conversion, a lot of what we're using is by weight, right? So we're doing tons of compost, tons of wood chips and things like that. And this is really more of a by volume thing. Yes. Because if I were to think about this by weight, I'd have 100 semis, to make that conversion.
That'd be fantastic, Mike. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it will be. That's the whole goal. Is we really started our product line, marketing our product line, July 18th. Okay. So we were working for 6 years. So I know, I talked to your dad at the Compost Council, and I know, it's like, okay, when do we get return on investment in this thing? And it's there. It's just, it takes some time to get that initial capital taken care of. But, for me, the soil company, it's been 6 years. 6 years, lots of millions and millions in equipment and operations and testing and learning and blending and talking to different people in that space, soil scientists and that sort of thing. But we're finally at that point where we start marketing products. So as we start moving product, that is one of our key ingredients. There's no question about it. That, zeolite, we've got over 20 different ingredients, but those two are really kind of special from a standpoint of water savings. It's weird because as a product, it's great for drainage because it doesn't break down, yet it holds water and can release it. and it's the same thing with nutrients. But like anything else, there's a learning curve, right?
Yes.
And how to work it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to taking the drive up there. Maybe when the snow is abated a little.
When you
Although
can't stand the heat down here,
right,
you can drive up the mountain.
it's
and
90 degrees here in February, so it
Yeah.
might be. There's some. We never really had a winter, I guess.
Yeah.
But and that's part of climate change. And I think this particular product, even though it's been around for thousands of years, I think is one of the key products for soil amending and for drought and drought relief. So
Yeah.
great to have you here on the podcast.
Great.
Appreciate you coming today.
Thank you.
Looking forward to going back up, and hopefully we start driving product out the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll
Thanks,
work
Mike.
for both of us. All right, thank you. I want to say welcome to my guest, Alexa Dargis, with Greenworks. So we've had Susan on, and I think we've had the CEO on, and we'll have other people. And today you're going to kind of talk to us about some of the upcoming things that we are doing together. One is the conference at Grand Canyon and the demo day, and then the other is what we're doing on Earth Day. So
Yes.
fill me in. Tell me a little about you and how you got into working with this company. I don't know if you've always worked in the equipment field or in sustainability, or what's your background and how did you get here, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah, so my background is primarily in consumer brands, tech brands. So a lot of battery powered and innovation is really what my expertise has been in the public relations field. And with that, that led me to Greenworks. We've been working, the agency I work with, we've been working with Greenworks for, I want to say about a year now. And over that time, we've done grand openings for their commercial side. We've done focused pitching efforts on their consumer side as well. And now our main focus is Earth Munch, which is hitting up starting in April. But for the past few weeks, we've been hitting the ground running with all these different activations and partnerships that are happening like all across the country that we're really excited about. And me coming on here today is kind of the first talking about it. We have not put out a press release about it yet. We are just getting some editorial content out there in the next coming weeks. So we're excited to get started talking about it with everyone.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're coming into Phoenix for the conference or Susan is. I know the team of maintenance engineers is definitely coming, and we're going to use all the equipment we just purchased to demo, and we're at Grand Canyon University, so I think they're very curious to see about transitioning as well, and using this equipment and how well it works. So are you coming into town for that one? Do you even know from day to day what they are moving you toward?
I know what's going on there. There is a lot going on for Earth Month, but that's a really exciting one to go down there with to be at the school to help with their like sustainability work and get that garden up and going.
We're just talking about the treehouse project. I've been to a lot of eco resorts with treehouse hotel type things, and they're really super cool. What tools are they
Yes.
using though? The chainsaws and the
Yes. Chainsaws, and then they're doing a lot just like for constructing the inside. So just power drills, and then at the end with all that dirt and everything, the pressure washers to clean up everything and make it look nice. And especially when it comes down to like the landscaping, we're going to be using a lot of Greenworks' landscaping tools, like edge trimmers, to make it beautiful inside and outside.
That's cool. Okay, so let's move over to Earth Day. I don't know if
Yes.
you guys are doing, I think we're doing a podcast with you from here, but you have celebrations all over maybe all over the world. I don't know. Where do you, what's that going to look like, and where are you geographically on those things, on those parties?
So we're doing like a promotion all throughout Earth Month, and we're just breaking it down week by week. But for Earth Day specifically on April 22nd, we're doing a green takeover. It's where we're gonna have our teams of lawn care professionals be beautifying properties across the country. So participating locations in this include the Asheville, North Carolina Arboretum, as well as Grand Canyon University, as you know of, in Phoenix. So these takeovers are including just like Earth Day activities and demos, and we'll have special guests. Chip Wade will be there for that as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. And if you'd like, I could go into what else is happening throughout Earth Month because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think what we're contemplate doing by podcasting simultaneously, it's a little like podcasting New Year's Eve, the fireworks on 4th of July, that kind of thing, where you're
Yes.
going from place to place to see that kind of thing going on. Last year on Earth Day, we had the founder, the organization, earthday.org, was on the podcast. So I'm hoping to get them to be on it at the same time and try to do some kind of simultaneous podcast where we're showing different celebrations and different awareness everywhere. So
Yes.
looking forward to that. So I'm not sure the date that you're coming to Grand Canyon. Do we have a defined date on that? Oh, March 22nd for GCU. Okay, a month before the Earth Day. Right. Okay, that keeps it simple. So, all right. Well, I'm hoping to see my equipment soon.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have it delivered any day now, so I'm getting anxious, and I'd like to play with it a little before we get it out here. So we've got a
Yeah, I
few
really like
weeks.
this lawnmower getting working with Greenworks. So
Yeah. So it
a lot
should
of
be
fun.
fun. Well, great. I appreciate having you today on the podcast, and we'll be seeing you in a few more weeks and seeing you over several times over the next month or so.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to seeing you as well.
Thanks. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.